Assalamu alaikum, friends. I hope you are doing well. Friends, every living being in this world will have to taste death. When one opens their eyes after death, they will find themselves in the grave. At that moment, either a path to Jannah will be connected to the grave, or a path to Jahannam. Friends, today I'm going to share a story with you that will make your hair stand on end. This incident might change your life. Our life is extremely short-lived, but we will have to account for it in the hereafter. And that reckoning will determine the outcome of our eternal life. A boy was buried with a snake, which might surprise you. So, be sure to watch the video until the end. Friends, before I explain why a boy was buried with a snake, let me tell you what a grave digger experienced while digging a grave. The grave is a house full of scorpions. At night, the environment around the grave becomes scary. The grave digger said that he once saw a scorpion sting a person during his burial. He also mentioned seeing an unseen force helping while digging the grave of a pious person. When the person was laid in the grave, a sweet fragrance of flowers filled the air. The dead body of a Hafiz of Quran was found intact in the grave even after 5 years. Flowers used to bloom over the grave of a pious woman, filling the air with a beautiful scent. However, I have also seen a case where the grave refused to accept a woman's body. Ghulam Mohammed, a 30-year-old grave digger, has been digging graves in a well-known cemetery in Uttar Pradesh. According to him, he has been digging graves since he was 10 years old. One day, Hindus conspired and killed the imam of a mosque. At the request of the imam's family, Ghulam Mohammed started digging his grave. He felt as if someone was helping him dig the grave. That day was very hot, with the sun overhead. However, those who were digging the grave noticed a cloud casting a shadow over it. I was most surprised when I finished preparing the grave in just 15 minutes. I was even more surprised that I didn't feel any fatigue after digging the grave. While preparing the grave, I smelled a fragrance that I had never smelled before, one that was refreshing to the soul and uplifting to the mind. Ghulam Mohammed mentioned that so many people attended the imam's funeral that many had to stand outside the cemetery. Every day someone comes to recite the Quran at the imam's grave. At night, light emanates from his grave, illuminating the entire area. Ghulam Rabbani spoke about a man who used to drink alcohol during the month of Ramadan. He passed away, and after he was buried, dogs would come to his grave every day, bark loudly, and try to dig it up. Later, I learned that animals can hear the cries of the dead. Perhaps the angels were punishing him for drinking too much alcohol. One year, there was heavy rainfall, which caused many graves to sink. Among these graves, there was one where the body hadn't decayed at all. Upon investigation, it was found that the grave belonged to a student who had died in an accident. Ghulam Mohammed's father once told him about a grave where a very pious, devoted, and God-fearing woman was buried. In 1996, due to heavy rainfall, some graves sank, exposing the bodies. Ghulam Mohammed's father mentioned that while passing by that grave, he heard a voice asking to quickly repair the grave so that no one would see her uncovered. He also noted that the shroud covering the body was intact, as if someone had just fixed it. Ghulam Mohammed's father mentioned that he often heard the recitation of the Quran from that grave. Sometimes he would stand by the grave to listen to it. Upon inquiry, he found that it was the grave of a Hafiz who had established a madrasa where thousands of children studied the Quran. He had personally taught many of them. In 2001, 3 men and a woman died due to flooding. Despite 5 hours of effort, it was impossible to dig their graves. The ground was so hard that it was difficult to use a spade. When the graves were finally dug, a venomous snake hissed at the people, causing fear among them. With great effort, the snake was killed, and the bodies were laid to rest. But then, scorpions appeared and clung to the bodies. Some people closed their eyes in horror, while others fainted. Finally, the burial was completed with prayers. Ghulam Muhammad once tried to dig a grave for a woman, but the ground became very hard. He dug from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. The day was extremely hot. Somehow the body was buried, but the next morning, cries for help were heard from that grave. The woman was begging to be saved. Upon inquiry, it was found that the woman used to disobey her husband. She would dress up well and go to the market. When her husband advised her against it, she would ignore him. She would laugh and talk to other men, often dressing in revealing clothes. The man was very religious and obedient to his parents. If anyone tried to advise the woman, she would argue with them. She had made her husband's life miserable. When Ghulam Muhammad discussed this with a scholar, he suggested that if the woman's husband forgave her by her grave, Allah might forgive her sins. After that, the woman's husband went to her grave, forgave her, and the cries stopped. Every Friday, the husband comes to the grave and recites the Quran. Friends, now I will tell you about the woman who was buried with a snake. In 1990, a newspaper reported a mother saying that when her young daughter died and they went to bury her, there was a snake in the grave. When they dug another grave, a snake appeared there as well. The third time they dug, snakes gathered in the grave again. Seeing this, everyone present was terrified, and no one wanted to dig another grave. The mother said they eventually buried her daughter with the snake. No one dared to go down into the grave, so her body was thrown into the grave from above, just like we throw away garbage. The mother said that her daughter used to pray 5 times a day, but she would dress up for the sake of showing off. She would wear a lot of makeup. When I tried to advise her, she wouldn't listen to me and would treat me rudely. Friends, do you still deny the torment of the grave? There is no denying the punishment of the grave. I pray to Allah to save us all from sin and the torment of the grave. Ameen. Summa Ameen. Friends, I hope you liked today's video. If you liked it, please like and share the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon so that our videos reach you. Stay healthy, everyone. That's all for today. Allah Hafiz.